Okay, so first try trying to show how I resolve exercise number 6 for the activity of this unit. Okay, so it says modify the course grade class you create in program challenge 5 to implement the following interface. Well, to do this, I have the interface here. It's been given by the book. But then we need to create the course grade. So I create the course grade from activity 5, which has a set lab method, set pass file exam, set essay, set final exam, and a toString method. So it actually asks you to create an array called grade activity and kind of set up every member of the array for like the mutator method. So the array is created here. I create a variable that holds the number of like activities that the teacher will grade, which is 4. And then I create the setLab method here, which is, and it asks you to set the score for element 0 on the array, and you reference a grade activity object. So this is the setLab, the set pass and fail, the same as reference a pass fail exam. And then it set it for the this space on the array, the set essay, the set final exam. This is part of the exercise 6, but we have the toString method that is the last thing they ask in exercise in point 5. So it's a toString method that basically will give you the grades, the grade score and the total grade of every exercise. Okay, so that's we had to do that for the number 5, and now we can implement analyzable on this class. So to implement it, you implement analyzable, and then like the book says, when you implement an interface, you have to do methods. Basically, you have to have these methods on your other in the class that implements the method. So I have the double the method get average here, which it has like a totalizer, and it will take like a value from the array starting by 0 and then add it to the totalizer and then divide it for the length of the array, which is 4. Now we'll give an average. And then we got the kind of object reference method here, which is what is acting for the interface. So the get lowest, since it's an array, I use like a loop that was discussed early on the book too, which compares like the value of the highest, which is a grade activity reference, and then compare with the value on the array, and if it's basically run 2 iterations, and if it just always keep the highest score on this variable, so it will return the highest score. It will return a reference of the value score. And then the same with the get lowest, basically the same, but it will return a reference of the lowest. So that's how I kind of implement the analyzable interface. And then I did a, so something to mention is you have to have since these are like reference from objects from other class, the other class are being given in the book, which is the grade activity class, the pass fail exam class, the essay. So I just kind of copy them once through the chapter. So in that way you can create objects and reference for those objects. And my demo, so I create objects from the grade activity, the pass fail exam, and essay. Then basically set up those objects with the scores, and then set it on. So set those scores here to create like those, like the numbers that you're gonna require for calculate this for yeah. So basically this put those numbers I set up here on the objects on the other classes, and then it will display the basically that it will use this string array to display on the program. So if I run it, I say, so I set the lab score for 85. I create an object for the exam, which is it will ask that it was 10 question. Well, I actually it's just one. I missed one. So I set it up to miss one, and the minimum score is 70. And then for the say, these are like the units, the scores the teacher gave for the say, and then the final exam was at 50 questions in miss 10. This is just an example to run, to test it. The results are here. So lab score 85 using the methods on the class that you will get a grade of B. For the pass-fail exam is 90. It's just a pass. Then for the essay you have 75, which is a C, and that's would be like a grade. Then it gives you the average, and then it gives you a reference of who was the highest score, which is the pass-fail exam, which is 90, which was the highest score, and then it will give you a reference to the lowest score, which was the essay, which was 75. And that's kind of how I run the exercise number 6. And then for the 7, so let me just yeah. And for the 7, so we have a person class with fields holding a person name, address, and telephone number. So we have person class who holds a string name, address, and phone number. And then create like the constructor. So the constructor public person will set a name, an address, and a phone number. And then you have the mutators. As for the mutators and the accessors, so we have mutators here to set the name, set the address, set the phone, and then set the accessors to return a name, address, and a phone number. So that will be the person class. And then as for a customer class, which stands this person, so it will be person customer class, which stands a person. This one we have a Boolean field, because you're gonna use it to see if they wanna be in a if the customer wishes to be on a mail list or not. That's what you're gonna use it. And then it will have an ID number to hold. So we create the constructor using like the variables from the like the upper class, and then we set the ID number and list from the customer class. Then we have a mutator method that set an ID number, and then one that set the Boolean adherent this way, meaning the Boolean is initialized on true. So when it's set, it will say basically the customer wants to be on the mailing or not. And then the accessors will return an ID number on the Boolean. Then how you customer. So how we'll demonstrate that. So I hold variables for everything we need on for the customer. Then I create a scanner just to put like a name, address, a phone number, and ID. Then I create a yes or not method, which is called here, and I put it here. So the yes or no method basically asks whoever is typing if the customer wants to be on the mailing list, yes or no. And basically an answer of yes or no will give you a Boolean, true or false, that will be returned. And then to see if everything got loaded and is working, you create a customer object and then just basically print all the information to see if all that is input is right. So when you run this, profile, so it will ask me for a name. Sorry. So it could be my name or that was name, and an address. Then a phone number and an ID number. Then it will ask if you want to be in the mailing list or no. So if we put yes, then once I input this information, will display information of the customer, which is the name, the address, the phone number, ID number, and then since I say yes, it says the customer wants to be on the mailing list. Again, if I run it, let's see, another name, another address. And I say no, will display the info, but this time we say the customer does not want to be in the mailing list. So that's kind of how I tried the classes. This is what I did. I hope this worked.